Oh, we love the smell of point spreads in the morning. It's here. It's on, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of Bury Your Bookie. I'm Jeff Deforrest. I'm going to attempt to do just that. Going to be joined here in just a couple of minutes by our good friend from Troy Winds, Troy West, who is coming off what would have been another radically and wildly successful trip to Las Vegas, except for the fact that he hails from Seattle and he keeps getting involved with the Mariners. And as we said, you can't necessarily have any kind of affair of the heart when you're talking about betting money. So if you have an attachment to a team, it may not necessarily bode well for your future financial well-being. If you are betting games, so there's one place to go. That's BetOnline, the world's most trusted betting platform, your number one source for everything football. Gets underway tonight with the Chiefs and the Ravens, a rematch of the AFC Championship game, widely anticipated. BetOnline has every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads to bet on during the games. You see Clayton Holmes coming in for the Yankees, all of a sudden you just jump on the other side there at a big price, and BetOnline will honor that for you. You think you know your stuff? Get in on the $200,000 mega contest and pick 5 games against the spread every week. It's fascinating competition for your chance to win weekly prizes and a share of $200,000. Hey, I'm 5-0 3 weeks in a row. Incredible. When the game's over, head on over to our online casino. You can play poker, you can play blackjack, you can indulge in over 150 slot games. Head to the website today to get in on all the action. Bet online. The game starts here. And we're going to get into the games right away here on the show. And no doubt take a look at some college football. Last week we crushed it with the professor, giving out 4-1 on his official picks and throwing you another bonus winner with FAU, covering the point spread rather easily against Michigan State on the road. Watch for Tom Herman. I think he'll be doing the Gator chop maybe by next year. That seems to be the evolution of the way that's transpiring. And speaking of the Yankees, there's a lot of steam out there before we get into the football and are joined by Troy West. A lot of steam out there. And the Yankee fans, we talked about it yesterday. They love to fetch and bitch and moan no matter what. They feel like there's a sense of entitlement. It's pretty easy to be alienated by the relentless crying and whining and the feeling of entitlement that Yankee fans seem to enjoy or enjoy talking about. But Aaron Boone, a lot of criticism now about Aaron Boone and the fact that he keeps throwing Clayton Holmes out there and mismanages the bullpen like no other manager in the history of baseball. Even a deranged and senile Casey Stengel was doing a better job with Jay Hook and the boys with the 62 Mets. And so a friend of mine characterized it perfectly. If you were talking about Aaron Boone as a manager, he's the guy that, remember, you would be short a couple of players and you had to have the fat kid out in right field because you were using self-team catching in some softball game you were playing in the Sandlot. It was always the fat kid in right field. That's where you put him because nobody hit to the opposite field. Very few lefties in the lineup. So it was the safest place to stash a guy. Aaron Boone is the kind of manager that instead of putting the fat kid in right field, he plays him at shortstop and then continues to make excuses for him and justify the fact that the kid just flat out can't play. The NFL season kicks off tonight, and we will be taking a preview look at that. I had to rethink a couple of my positions here as we were looking at the opening night action. I have a good friend that has a substantial wager. And I'm trying to connect here with Troy West. Troy, if we don't get you, then just dial us right back in, and we'll see if we can make this thing happen, as we want to get his insights into what's going on. He's still betting out on baseball. And let me see if we can get you to reconnect here, Troy West. Hopefully you're following me, and we'll see if we can make that happen. I'm a little bit fearful tonight. I had to go back and maybe reassess my position on the Chiefs and the Ravens, because I still have the impression of Lamar Jackson being made to look like a complete chump, like an amateur in the ball game last year in the AFC title game. But that was pretty much the first half. In the second half of that ball game, the Baltimore Ravens actually ended up posing quite a realistic threat to the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, they beat them in the regular season in week number 2. And so you had the Chiefs, having a loss to the Baltimore Ravens in the regular season, and then they kind of squeaked by a little bit in the end when you tally all the results of the AFC title game. So it's interesting that line has just remained at 3 points since the very outset. I don't know if it's fluctuated any today. I was kind of dealing with yesterday's news tomorrow while looking at the line in my New York Post, and it's kind of just stayed steady as a rock there at 3 points. So I don't know. I mean, should we have any trepidation about this ball game going in? I'd hate to see my friend start out the season losing a big chunk of money. But he was adamant about the idea that the Chiefs will dominate this game, and he couldn't wait to get down on it. And I'm sure he continued to press that bet and may also do so right up until post time for the game, which kicks off the NFL season tonight. So the Chiefs and the Ravens may be more of a dicey proposition than it appeared to be originally. I'm still thinking the Chiefs got a little faster on the outside, maybe some more competency in terms of their receiving skills. They had addition by subtraction by getting rid of Kadarius Toney. Patrick Mahomes last year, I think, was also the recipient and a benefactor of a lot of good luck that took place as the Chiefs made their way into the championship circle once again. Can they three-peat? It seems very unlikely that a team in the modern era would be able to win 3 consecutive championships or even be knocking on the door as frequently as Patrick Mahomes has been. But yeah, tonight's ball game may be a little bit dicier than it originally appeared to be. So rethinking my position on that. And then we were talking about the Survivor Pool, which Bet Online has, and you can probably get involved in any number of Survivor Pools. Maybe some guy that the people actually do like office pools, Survivor Pools at various. Nobody goes to work anymore. Everybody's working remotely, so it's unlikely you would have an office pool on something like this. But the Survivor Pool strategy, we went against ourselves yesterday. I mean, you talk about degeneracy creating a lot of internal conflict. This is it. And the tendency would be, I mean, look, don't get cute. Take the easiest game on the board without question. I don't think there's any doubt that if you wanted to get past week number 1, and maybe that's a good thing to do, kind of like the guy that takes a couple of bunts in the batting cage. You're paying a premium amount of money for the 20 pitches that you're going to get. You don't know if all of them are going to be anywhere near the plate because the balls that are being used in the machine are kind of out of round after a while, and they could go anywhere. They're darting all over the place. And you're going to waste your time and energy just taking a couple of bunt attempts. I always found that, and anybody that was bringing a kid to the batting cages and they took a couple of bunts or encouraged, oh, okay, little Johnny, bunt the first 2. Get the fuck out of here. Just start taking some hacks. But maybe that's the way to go. If you're beginning a Survivor Pool, is just get that first win, get that first round out of the way, which you would think the Bengals have no chance of losing straight up, whether Jamar Chase plays or not, of losing straight up in their ball game on their home turf, and they're going against a New England Patriot team that people don't think will win four games this year. So is this going to be one of them? Doubtful. But the strategy was that maybe you go against the grain on the big game on the board, the most obvious choice, which would be Bengals over the Patriots to win straight up, and try to find another game. So I'm looking at the Miami Dolphins thinking that they're going to sprint right out of the chute this year, and they are one of the fastest teams that's ever been assembled. They play particularly well at home early in the season. They usually have a big advantage there as we try once again to connect with. And there he is. Ladies and gentlemen, the 3-time middleweight champion of the world, Troy West. I'm glad to see you, Troy. I don't know what was going on there, the original connection. I was just kind of babbling away about already second-guessing myself in Survivor Pool strategy, and we haven't played the first game of the season yet. But this is something that you have to be committed on, before everything gets underway. How are you, by the way? How was your trip to Vegas?
Oh, you know what? Vegas is always good. I felt a little defo in me yesterday, right?
Oh yeah,
I take the Mariners on Tuesday night. They lose 3-2 in extra innings, or excuse me, on a walk off to the Oakland A's. And then yesterday, the Mariners put up 16 runs
of
and
course.
beat Oakland 16-4. So felt a little defo yesterday, but licking my wounds. But overall, we had a great college football weekend there in Las Vegas, going 6-1 Saturday. But that big play with the Mariners on Tuesday hurt, and then, like you said, to watch them the next day put up 16, that was tough to swallow, without a doubt.
So disgusting when that happens. When you're a day late to the party, and of course a dollar short because the day before, and you can't let this wreck your confidence, though. And that's what I love about you, Troy West. You don't get mentally destroyed over the toughest of beats. A team puts up 5 runs in the ninth inning in meaningless fashion because they're down by 6 at the time, and it ruins your unders, which you've been prevailing on and having good success. Because I think that there has been just an incredible number of unders taking place in Major League Baseball.
Yeah, like a good friend of mine once said, Defo, Brandon Lang, a guy that you might know.
Yeah.
You're only as good as your last big bet, right? So no,
Yes.
when you've been doing this as long as I have, you got to stay even keel. Can't get too high, can't get too low. The goal, this is like playing the stock market, right, Defo? You don't throw your money into Apple and try to get it out the next day. You got to let it ride throughout the course of the year. That's what we do, and we think you're going to make a lot of money if you follow us out through the rest of the year.
Another educational point that came from the great Brandon Lang, who probably, if we try to get in touch with him as we speak, is in some strip club in Las Vegas. They're going Money Mayweather style, just throwing dollars in the air. But I guess he put a book out years and years ago, and he said that no matter how good you are at this handicapping, you're going to go through streaks where you can do no right. And one of the big keys that everybody talks about with money management is learning how to survive. It's kind of like the cold shoe in blackjack, where
Yeah.
okay, you're at the table, you don't want to lose your seat. You're going to wait till it cycles out again, and it starts becoming more favorable to the players. But in the meantime, you're putting up $5, and you kind of got to pull back a little bit until you can overcome the negativity that's happening to you. So he said that no matter how good you are, everybody's going to go through streaks where you're just taking a beating, and you have to be able to deal with that.
Yo, I couldn't agree more. You got to weather the storm. Man, that's what some of the viewers out there, you can have a week where you go, 10-9 or 10-10, and people lose their shit, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it kind of cracks me up. You've got to, like you said, you got to just kind of weather the storm, and when things aren't going great, just make sure you're not getting that bankroll crushed, and you're ready to go. But we're still in great shape right now, and college football is gonna be another fun weekend. I'm amazed at some of the stuff we saw over the first week 0 and week 1, but week 2 is looking great.
And the Florida State thing was interesting, of course, hailing here from the Sunshine State. We're paying a lot of attention to that. We've had Mike Norvell on any number of shows. Is he the greatest football cliche machine that you've ever seen? I always thought it was Howard Schnellenberger, my good friend from the 80s and the big rain. He launched the whole hurricane thing and the decades of dominance that they had, winning their 5 national championships. It all went back to Howard. And he would say something like, we've got a good football team. They've got a good football team. And when 2 good football teams get together, it's going to be a good football game. You're like, what the fuck does that mean, Howard? But Norvell, I don't know that anybody has more cliches. And it's not like he's not speaking. He doesn't do a Popovich, but the guy says nothing. And yet people refuse to believe what their eyes are telling them. If you watch Florida State against Georgia Tech, you had to assume that they were on very dicey turf laying 17 against Boston College. Would that not be a fair assumption?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with Norvell. I think where you put the blame pie is, which is probably him, is how in God's name and hell did you end up with DJ Ungala going into the season as your starting quarterback with the amount of guys that were in the transfer portal? Now, I'll tell you right now, the guy I told you last week was one of our big winners. Cam Ward, this guy's one of the best quarterbacks in the country. He
Yeah.
ends up down the street at your neighbor's place in Miami. If Florida State had Cam Ward running the show, I truly believe they'd be 2-0. But there were so many guys out there that Florida State could have grabbed, and you grab a journeyman that's played at Clemson. Dabo Swinney didn't want the guy. Then he comes out here to the Pacific Northwest, Oregon State. They didn't really want the guy. How in God's name did they end up with him after going with Jordan Travis last year? So, you're really only as good as your captain and your quarterback. And boy, they don't have a top 50 quarterback in college football. So, how can Florida State take the field and take people seriously when you don't have a quarterback that anybody fears? So, That's obviously falls on Norvell, but that's just I could not believe when they started the season that they were starting the season with DJ Ungala.
Well, he was throwing two hoppers to short. I mean, he looked like Jared Goff his first year with the Lions. He's bouncing balls in the dirt and missing guys that are wide open in the corner of the end zone. And there's nobody within 30 feet of the guy, and he throws it into the stands.
Yep.
Unfortunate, because he showed some signs of life briefly. I remember being in Atlantic City, Troy, and I guess this is where it's at with gambling now and how you relate to players. And I had an over with Oregon State, and I needed the ukulele kid there to have a big ball game, and he was showing signs of life. So I could see where maybe Florida State thought that they could survive with this kid, or maybe even prosper. But wow, I mean, two ugly performances so far. All right, let's get into it. I don't know which you want to start with. Are you going to do some college football, pros, baseball? Where are we at today, Troy?
Let's go to the pros. We got a big one tonight. We've got an
Yeah.
official play for the viewership
Oh,
out there
beautiful.
tonight. We've got, obviously Baltimore headed into Kansas City. It's going to be a great football game. Really looking forward to seeing kind of this new look, Derrick Henry, Ravens team. But I think I'm leaning under on this one, under 47. That's a lot of points to me. I think Patrick Mahomes and this offense, every year they kind of come out slow, right? Kansas City just comes out slow. They came out slow last year, losing to Detroit in the opener on Thursday night last year. And I just, he's got this young receiving core. Hollywood Brown's out. Travis Kelsey's aged a little bit. The offensive line's beat up. Clyde Edward-Helaire is out. I like under 47. I think the Ravens going to want to come out and establish the run game. I think the Chiefs are still going to try to establish the run game. I think you're looking at a 21-17 type of football game. I like under 47 as an official play for you guys.
All right. Did you have any inclination in any survivor pools? I don't know if you got involved in Westgate or, well, the Westgate is the pick fives, which is kind of an interesting contest. Have you ever played in that, Troy West?
Yes, I have. As a matter of fact, the Super Contest. I was
Yeah.
actually the Bally's Super Contest winner in 2021.
Get out of here.
I'm not joking you. I'm not joking you. I'll send you the documentation, Defo. I was
Send me a piece of the
it,
check.
it was pretty cool. It wasn't as near as big as the Westgate one, and the prize pool wasn't near as big as that one, but it was still great. And survivors are a lot of fun. I did hear you talking earlier. I think this first week you just try to get out of the week. I had a lean on Seattle at home over Denver if you want to stay away from that Cincinnati, but I will come out and say officially on both of my survivor pools, I did put a big circle around the Bengals. Just to make sure, I just want to get out of week one, right? I mean, a lot of these lines are really close this week. I mean, you look at Buffalo, Arizona, that's another higher line, but gosh, what is Buffalo going to be this year, right? So for the survivor listeners out there, I did circle the Bengals.
I was talking to an NFL insider that I've known for years named Jason Coley. He's now with an organization called the 33rd Team. Nobody has played internet free agency any better. It's the equivalent of what Neil O'Donnell did as a quarterback when he kept going from team to team and getting bigger and fatter 1-year contracts. But he's been doing this a long time. He loves the Buffalo Bills this year and thinks that in spite of being error prone, that Josh Allen is going to somehow shine and prove himself to be the great quarterback that everybody always talks about him being. And yet, as great as his skill set is or appears to be, and the leadership and the swagger that he has when he's playing a position, you can't keep making dumb mistakes. I mean, when Tom Brady started making bonehead plays with the Patriots before he won the Super Bowl with the Buccaneers, I thought he was a shot fighter. And, this has been a consistency with Josh Allen. He may be as talented as he is. It's hard to say that. The most overrated guy in professional football. Is that possible, Troy West, or does that sound absurd?
Maybe a little absurd, but I'm with you, and I think they take a step back this year. I mean, anytime you lose your number one wide receiver and you don't replace him, I don't know how you can be better. I guess we'll see. Maybe Diggs was a headache in the locker room and was causing Josh Allen mental problems, which I think a lot of people turn a blind eye to. A lot of these receivers that demand the football, you better give me 15 touches a game. That really can screw with the quarterback. So maybe that helps them, but on paper, boy, that offense just doesn't look as good. I know they got the two tight ends. They've obviously got a good run game, but who are you throwing the ball to this year? I mean, you just do not have a number one target. The defense was always been suspect. So I'm not too high on the Bills this year. That Cardinal Bills game is going to be a good football game this weekend.
All right. So we have your pick, the under tonight, an official Troy, West prognostication here on the program. Under tonight, Chiefs and Ravens. Looking for a tight ball game, low scoring affair. Something maybe in the high 30s, but not getting anywhere close to 47. So might have that one on cruise control with a 0-0 halftime score. That would be great. And you said you're excited about the college card. There are a lot of marquee games, a lot of games that are of intrigue in terms of value on the point spread side. What are you looking at, Troy?
There is. You know what? People might not like this one, but I like it a lot. We're going Steve Sarkeesian's headed into the big house, Michigan, Texas at Michigan. That one's 7.5. Who would have ever thought that number 10 Michigan would be getting a touchdown and a hook at
Yes.
home after winning the national championship last year? Well, there's a reason why. Texas, this team's the real deal. They're explosive on offense. They've got a good defense. Steve Sarkeesian's a great coach. He's great coaching on the road. I like Texas to go into Michigan. This Michigan team's not a top 10 team to me. They're just not that good this year. They haven't, their coach hasn't had to coach in these big marquee games yet. Give me Texas in a big way. I think they win this one like 35-21. But I like Texas minus 7.5.
All right, going to the big house and running it up. I did see an interview with Steve Sarkeesian doing a little preview of the game, one of the press conferences, building up to the ball game. He was the epitome of calm. He said, speaking of Norvell and the cliches, but I mean, he was, espousing all of the, due respect for the Michigan program and playing on the road there. But he seemed to have that look on his face, if you can read body language, that he might think that he has this one in the bag. He didn't seem overwhelmingly concerned, even though he was saying all of the right things, all the polite things about it. All right. Any other games that are of interest
I'll give
to
you
you?
one more. I'll give you one more. We're coming out to the Pacific Northwest. We're going Boise State, Oregon. Boise State heads into Oregon. Both teams did not look good week one. Oregon actually gets a 10-point win against Idaho. I think they were favored by 40 plus, snuck out with a 24-14 win. Boise State on the other side of football did not look good either. They won 56-45. That was actually my only loss over the weekend on our
Wow.
official card depot. We had Boise State minus 12-13. We got backdoored, and they gave it 45 points to Georgia Southern. But guess what? Boise State's got one of the best running backs in the country, at 6 touchdowns last week. This is a team that's going to want to run the football against this Oregon team, and Oregon showed that they're just not that physical. You're getting 19.5 points with Boise State this weekend. I'll take Boise State. I don't think they win this game, but I think you're looking at probably a 31-22 type of football game. I'll take 19.5 points with Boise State.
Following, a recent theory that we just were talking about, where so you get hit with a haymaker in one game, come right back, with your Mariners again, and they put up 20 for you, and score 3 touchdowns, and your over is easily accomplished, and so is your side and your victory. All right, Troy, where can people get your stuff? Because I mean, the subscriptions have gone wild for Troy Wins, and people are cashing, and there's nothing wrong with a 6-1 week on the official card on college football to start out the season. That is fantastic. So, where can people get more of your information?
Yeah, get to our Instagram. It's Troy West. That's our Instagram page. We've got all sorts of great stuff there. We give out a lot of free picks. We do some awesome contests for our viewers. So make sure you check that out. The website is troywins.com. Some outstanding packages there. I truly feel like we're a bargain. It's not just me. We've got a collective group of handicappers that are putting our brains together and putting out quality picks each and every day. So troywins.com is the website. And on Instagram, it's Troy West.
Curious about this. I don't know if you've dabbled in this. I would imagine there's somewhere, and I'm not sure where they're taking this action, where you could bet on whether or not any starting pitcher is going to throw a no-hitter in that particular outing.
So,
All right, so you got Shoto Imanaga there of the Cubs. He's having an outstanding year. I think he was like 12-3 going into this game. He's got a no-hitter through 7. Now, I don't know if you had to find some boiler room in the jungles of Costa Rica to get this kind of action down, but if you have this, bet somewhere, it had to be at phenomenal odds. I mean, what would the odds be on something like that for anybody, even if it was Koufax on the mound, to throw a no-hitter, which is a rarity in Major League Baseball? That's why it sparks so much interest when it's happening. But if they lifted the guy after 7, would you be? I mean, when is it going to happen that somebody's going to file a lawsuit against like Craig Counsell because he may have cost them, several $1 million in a score on like a $10 bet?
I did read that a guy, yeah, like you said, was at the game, put down $5 to win 1,400. I think they paid the guy. I think
Oh
they
yeah.
paid the guy. I think probably in the these guys are so smart with the fine print writing somewhere in there it says, as long as the game goes 9 innings and as long as it's a no hitter, doesn't matter who pitches, they can get it done. So I saw that $5 to pay 14. DraftKings does a great job with that. They've got, I mean, you can bet on anything under the moon with those guys. But I agree with you. I haven't seen that one. I haven't seen a whole lot of guys bet for the game to be a no hitter. That was a new another new one to me. But I seem to see something new every week in the days of gambling nowadays.
It's amazing. I mean, holy Pedro Martinez. What are we talking about here? You're going to bet that the guy pitches a no hitter? Is Nolan Ryan back in action? Even with
Totally.
that, I mean, you have a very low percentage chance of seeing it happen. All right, Troy, best of luck to you on all your picks. Under in the Chiefs game tonight against the Ravens, going to be more of a nail biter in Troy's opinion, and game played close to the vest, even though you need speed. It's the old thing out of the Rocky movie with Mick. They put some speed on the outside now for Patrick Mahomes, which many people are thinking is going to ignite the possibility of a third straight championship. Are you inclined to believe that the Chiefs win it this year? Just real quickly.
I do not think the Chiefs win it this year. I think they take a major step back. And the one thing that they do have going for them is a bad division. You get Denver twice, you get the Raiders twice, and then you get the Chargers, which we really don't know what the Chargers are going to be either. So they could get 6 wins in the division. But I do think that the Chiefs take a big step back this year. I do not think they are going to the Super Bowl.
All right, always great, Troy. Outstanding job. Thanks so much for being with us here on the show.
I
Appreciate it.
appreciate it, Defo. Good luck this weekend to everybody.
All right. We'll talk to Troy West again next week. So he likes the under tonight, Chiefs and the Ravens. That'll be an official play here on Troy West's ledger. And gave you a couple of college games. Likes Texas to go into the big house there in Michigan and just crush the Wolverines like a grape. All right, we have to get out of here. Thanks so much for being with us. We'll have the professor who was officially 4-1 on the program last week with his college football plays. Outstanding college football handicapper. He had a big week for himself. His only loss was the LSU game, and he quickly, and it's amazing what extreme behavior it brings out and reaction when you lose a bet now that everybody's a degenerate. He immediately deemed Brian Kelly to be the worst coach in all of college football. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow with our Degenerate Friday edition. Should be action-packed of Bury Your Bookie right here on NoFilter.net.